Alright, hi, my name is James Scott. I am currently out hiking the Appalachian Trail. Right now I am sitting at the Gooder Grove Hostel in Franklin, North Carolina. I've approximately hiked about 110 miles of the trail thus far in the last 3.5 to 4 weeks. Started on March 15th, today is April 4th, so the numbers escape me after a while. I have been documenting my hike on the Facebook page of Mad Monk on the Trail. And I posted to that Facebook page a few days ago asking for any questions that people may have while I was out here. And I'm going to attempt to answer some of those questions now. First question was, what type of boots are you wearing? And cotton or wool socks. When it comes to the boots, I had been hiking with a pair of Keen Targhee boots, which are really light. But they very quickly started falling apart once I got on the trail. So while I was here in Franklin, I just stopped at Outdoor 76, which is an outfitter here in town. Funny story, I normally have always worn a size 10.5 for most of my adult life. When I got ready to leave for my hike, I had bought my Keen boots in a size 11.5. Because I was told that you should go a size higher when you're going to go out hiking. And when I went to Outdoor 76, which was an interesting experience, they measured my feet, they measured the arches, they measured where my knuckles were, went through a full process to make sure that they were picking the right shoe for me. And the salesman came back and said, here's some shoes that I'm recommending for you, and they brought out a size 12, and I was really surprised because I've never worn a shoe of that size. But because of how my feet were shaped, they felt that that was a more appropriate size for me. And sure enough, I put that pair on, walked around the store, and it felt fantastic. So I've switched out. I've got a pair of North Face mid-hiking boots on now. They've got like a waterproof layer on them, which I'm really appreciating because of how wet it is out there. As far as socks, I'm wearing Darn Tough socks. I've got 2 pairs of Darn Tough socks that I alternate from one day to the next. Really, really like those socks. They're merino wool, very comfy, fit very snug, and they keep me very warm, which is important when it's been getting down to 20 degrees or less a lot of nights out here. What keeps me going? Often what keeps me going is not having any other choice. There have been a lot of days that I've wanted to quit. Just this week, I had an awful day. We had rainstorms that came through. My tent collapsed. Everything I had got soaked. Everything I had got coated in mud. I was freezing cold, and I desperately wanted to quit. But I was like a 12-mile hike from the closest place that I could even leave. So it wasn't really an option. So I decided I stayed at the shelter that I was at for an extra day, cleaned everything off, let it dry out in the sun, got back on the road. Things kind of shook out after that. And I'm actually going to talk a little bit more about that awful day when I do my next blog post this week, because it was an awful, awful day. But yeah, beyond that, a lot of prayer. Knowing that I have a lot of friends and family that are kind of watching from back home, I get a lot of encouraging words. I've got several friends that have messaged me at just the right times. And yeah, every hill is a prayer. Every mountain I have to climb. I sit there and I stare up at the incline, and it's like, oh God, how am I going to get up this? Oh God, you need to get me up this, because I gotta get up this. This is hard. So, how did you prepare for this massive hike? Not enough. That's how I prepared. Not enough. I got a gym membership at Planet Fitness, which was a gym local in my area. I did a lot of, I started with a lot of the elliptical machines, and then moved to using an arc trainer, because with the poles and everything, I thought it was going to be a similar motion to hiking. That was not enough. Not at all. I should have done a lot more stair steps, and from what I've been learning from some of the people I've talked to, bicycling would have also been more beneficial to me, just because of the muscle range movement. but not enough. That's how I prepared. I did do a lot of reading on websites as far as looking at other people who had done through hikes, doing some research that way, looking at equipment. But yeah, I was not prepared. It's just been hard. What is my favorite thing about having a younger sister? She lets me store my car at her house while I'm out in the woods for 6 months. So that's probably my favorite thing right now. What has been the most unexpected thing? Oh God. There have been a lot of things that I didn't expect. I think the social aspect is the thing I wouldn't have expected. I tend to be a fairly antisocial person myself. My ideal day is spending all day inside reading and not really dealing with a whole lot with people. But I've gotten to know people from so many countries, from so many different backgrounds, from so many different age groups. And I've really developed some good friendships that have been nice. That's something I would not have expected. Kind of forcing me out of my shell a little bit. What has gone exactly the way I thought? Nothing. Nothing has gone exactly the way I thought. I was expecting a leisurely walk in the woods, and that's not what I've got. So, who has been the coolest person you've met so far? Man, that'd be hard. There's a guy named Jim, who his hiking name is No Man Walking. Really enjoyed chatting with him the other day. That was an absolute pleasure. I got to spend a couple of days with him at a hostel. A friend, Vonnie, that she has kind of kept a similar pace as me. We both happen to be fairly sitting about 8 miles an hour, 8 miles a day, which is fairly slow. So I've chatted with her quite a bit in the last couple of days. There's a guy named The Spaniard. It was really cool. He's late 60s. He has already hiked several other long-distance trails, including the Pacific Crest Trail, which goes up through the west coast of the United States. He's done some hiking in the Pyrenees, and he's done the El Camino, which is a long-distance trail in Spain. That is part of a spiritual, like a pilgrimage sort of thing. So he was an interesting guy to sit and chat with. Pete was somebody who I met early on, that he had just turned 80, and he came out to do a thru hike. Unfortunately, he was not able to complete his thru hike. He had to drop out because of hip problems. So there have been several cool people. Let's see. What is your purpose of this thru hike? What possessed you? That's a hard question, and it's one that the answer to that has kind of changed multiple times. The joke answer that I've often given to people is that I need to lose weight, and this is cheaper than liposuction. That's generally been true. I'm discovering that there's a little more expense involved with this than I'd expected. But it's definitely more fun than liposuction, and I have been losing weight. I turned 35 this fall, and I've kind of reached a point in life where I wasn't sure what I really wanted to be doing. I love my job. I love the people I work with. But I've been realizing more and more that I wasn't really feeling fulfilled with it. I had a couple of dating relationships that just kind of flummoxed out. Sorry. I'm in a hostel, so there's multiple people coming in and out of the room. Sorry. So that's been. I just kind of reached a point in life where I needed to kind of change some things up and try something new. So that's been that. And it's been a good opportunity to kind of get to know myself a little bit more, get to know God a little bit more, and it's been valuable. Can people or friends meet up with you and hike for a while with you, or is this a secret hiking mission? This is not a secret hiking mission. You can absolutely meet up and hike with me if you want. Unfortunately, I don't have great data signal at a lot of places where I'm at. I hit a place with Wi-Fi usually about once a week. But my cell signal out in the woods isn't that great, so you'd have to try to get a hold of me. And the problem is that my pace is unpredictable. I usually do about 8 miles a day, but sometimes I have to take a 0 day, and sometimes I might do more miles. So it's hard to really predict where I might be, but I would certainly be more than happy to have someone who can join me. I am not a fun person to hike with because I'm very slow. I stop a lot. But hey, if you want to come meet with me in town and treat me to like a burger and a shower, that would be awesome too. So, but yeah, hit me up and send me a message on Facebook. It's usually the most consistent way to get a hold of me. Because again, my cell is not that great. What did you pack that you didn't need? What did you need that you didn't pack? I packed a lot of things that I didn't need. I realized at one point that I had 3 different pocket knives that I brought with me. I only need one, so I got rid of some of those. I had this vest with all these pockets that I brought with me. It was great, but it was also super heavy. I got rid of that. I brought this giant battery pack, and that has just been a pain. So I just swapped that out for a solar charger instead. That hopefully will do me a little bit better. What did I need that I didn't pack? My food really was not properly thought out. I brought a lot of protein bars, which was good. But I brought like some instant rice and some dry milk powder and some things like that. And it's like that was good for making one meal, but it wasn't good variety. It was good nutrition. So I've switched that out to a lot of dry pack tuna, cheese, pepperoni, jerky, those kinds of things. So that's been good. Bestpeach of ultralight gear. I don't own any ultralight gear. I did this on a shoestring budget, as cheap as I could get, and ultralight unfortunately usually means ultra expensive. So I don't have any gear that would qualify as ultralight. I think the closest might be my tent, which is an MSR Fast Dash. It weighs like 4.5 pounds, but even that is probably a little on the heavy side if you were to ask somebody who was into the ultralight stuff. But because I did this on a fairly cheap budget, I don't have anything ultralight. My total pack weight comes in at about 45 pounds with a day's worth of water and a week's worth of food, which is very heavy in comparison to some. But it also was done on a much cheaper budget than some, so there's that. Lost the page. What has been the hardest adjustment to taking on this journey? I should have practiced with a pack on my back. Wearing 45 pounds on my back is something I was not prepared for, and that has been a difficult adjustment. I should have done that. What have you learned about shitting in the woods? Sorry, since you have been on the trail. I did. The first time that I pooped in the woods was on top of Blood Mountain. So as far as I'm concerned, by the rules of dogs, I now own a portion of Blood Mountain, because I had to go out and dig a six-inch hole. I started the trail with this plastic trowel that I was trying to use to dig holes, and it didn't do a great job. And I stopped at an outfitter, and when they did my shakedown, they said, "Oh, don't take a trowel, just use one of your tent stakes, and that'll be fine." That was okay, but a tent stake isn't great for trying to dig a 6-inch hole in a lot of these woods. The other problem is that once you set up your tent, you can no longer dig a hole for the night. So I switched to a much more lightweight, very thin metal trowel, and that I've been much happier with. How many miles a day are you averaging? I started off averaging about 3 to 5 in the first week, moved that up to about 7 or 8. I did about 12 or 13 yesterday, but that was a big day. Probably won't do that consistently until I'm after the Smokies. So about 8 to 10, I would say, is probably my average right now. What is the best way we can support you? The best way is by using the PayPal link that is on my Facebook page. It is a PayPal Me link. But if you make a donation using that PayPal link, that will money is able to go directly to my checking account. They don't take anything off the top. That is absolutely the best way to support the hike. Past that, obviously, liking and sharing the page, sharing my posts so that more people can see those, and hopefully they then will decide to make use of that PayPal link. What is the weirdest thing you have seen someone carrying on the trail? I've seen a lot of people carrying instruments, which I didn't expect. A lot of people that are carrying little guitars, ukuleles. One guy had a banjo. One person had a didgeridoo. So that's something that I was not expecting to see. Does being alone bother you at times? And what is your spookiest story thus far? Being alone does bother me sometimes, especially not being able to keep in contact with people back home when I don't have the ability to text or anything like that. Spookiest night by far has been, there was a night that I got to a shelter, the Whitley Gap shelter, which is 1.5 miles off of the trail. And it's not just 1.5 miles, you have to go over a mountaintop to get to it. And when I got to that shelter that night, there was no one else there. So I spent that night at the shelter alone, completely. That was a spooky evening. How's the tent pitching been going? I did have some issues early on where my tent kept falling over. MSR is the manufacturer of my tent, so I sent them some photos of the tent to get some advice. They were able to give me some advice on how to set the tent up better. Sure enough, the very first night that I set it up with their advice, it went well. The second night, we got a nasty thunderstorm, and everybody's tent got blown over, so I can't blame them for that. So hopefully it's getting better. How did you get such cool parents? Blessed by God, I guess. They are pretty cool. What have you learned about yourself? It's still a little early, I think. I'm not sure what I've learned about myself just yet, but I'm having fun. What has been your favorite part of God's creation so far? There's been several mountaintop views that have been gorgeous. There's been several moments of walking through the green tunnels with the rhododendrons that has been amazing. And some of the people that I've met have been pretty amazing too. Given the last few weeks, are you glad this is something you set out to do? Yes, I do. I am glad that I had to set out to do this. I don't know if this is something that I will be able to see through to the end. Financially speaking, I don't know if I'm going to be able to make it all the way to Katahdin. But one way or the other, I think I'm coming out of this with some great stories, and it's definitely been a great experience. Am I having fun? Yes, I am having fun sometimes. And sometimes I am not having fun. So it depends on the day and the weather. Do you feel God walking with you? Yes, I do. It has been a very good personal experience of just constant prayer and conversation and meditation a lot of times, and often some very angry conversations with God, asking why I got stuck doing this. What went wrong with your crank charging system? And would a small solar pack help? The problem what this is referring to is I had posted on my Facebook page a while back that I had lost access because of an issue with my charging system. It was not an issue with the crank charger, but it was an issue with the battery pack that I had brought. The battery pack died because I accidentally left it on overnight. The crank charger that I have is from a company called K-Tor. They donated that to me when I told them I was going on the hike. It is helpful. The problem is that I do not have the patience or the attention span to sit and crank for the amount of time it takes to charge the phone to full. So it is good for topping off the phone or for getting an emergency charge if I need to make a quick emergency call, but it is not good for charging all the way full. I have heard some mixed reviews about solar chargers because we do spend a lot of time hiking in the shade, but I did buy a solar charger this week, so we'll see how that goes. Are you scared that the East Appalachian Trail monkey will attack you? Not particularly. I've not heard of the East Appalachian Trail monkey. I will say, though, that before I left, a friend of mine and I chatted on Facebook for a bit, and we did some research on various type of cryptozids that are in the Appalachian Trail area. Mostly different forms of Bigfoot are typically what you see, or what you would expect to see out here. I haven't seen anything beyond Bigfoot statues yet, but maybe I'll get lucky. We'll find out. How are you doing personally? Overall, how are you holding up? It's hard. I have days where I hold up well, and I have days where I'm not holding up well. But I keep putting one foot in front of the other and keep going. We'll see what happens. And I think that's a good philosophy in life. And then how can free will exist with the end already decided? So I have a theory that boils down to the Doctor Who makes a comment of wibbly wobbly timey wimey, in that we do have free will, but we exist in a bubble, and that we exist within a bubble of time. And that it's not that things are predetermined, it's just that someone outside of that bubble of time, be it God or prophecy or whatever else, is able to see how that thing will end. It doesn't negate the fact that you have free will because you're inside the bubble. It's just that someone outside the bubble sees that predetermined end without the assistance of time. That's my answer to that one. But that's all the questions. I hope you found this at least interesting and not a waste of your 20 minutes of time. Please like and share the video, as well as like and share the page. As I said, there is a PayPal link that can be used to support the hike if you're interested. And I'm trying to see if I can pull up that link right now. The PayPal link is www.paypal.me/madmonk. Again, that is www.paypal.me/madmonk. Thanks again for your time, and have a great day. Be safe out there.